an immigration lawyer, I have a unique perspective of our country through the eyes of my clients who come from all over the world, not to change America, but to realize their full potential as humans. Esther came from Haiti 10 years ago when she was in high school, and now she's one of the top nurses at Georgetown University Hospital. Laura is an Italian who fell in love with Chris, an American, whose parents came from Iceland to do research at NIH. Now Laura is a doctor at Mount Sinai in New York. And Ahmed is a doctor from Iraq who devotes his life to finding ways to prevent and cure cancer, something that's become even more important to him since his wife and mother were diagnosed. He's a research scientist at Johns Hopkins Hospital. All of the people that I've had the privilege to serve reinforce the values that we consider American, and the work they do benefits all of us. But that's not the narrative about immigrants that we get from the news and social media. So what to do about this growing gap between rhetoric and reality? Over the next year, I'm traveling around the United States on a listening tour to engage communities in conversations about culture and identity, change, and the challenges that we all face together. Just a few weeks ago, I was in McPherson, Kansas, for their annual Scottish Festival to celebrate the town's cultural heritage. Kansas is predominantly white, rural, conservative, and Christian. Tight-knit, friendly communities where most people feel safe and have job security. So navigating change in the form of new residents from cultures and countries that appear different is challenging. We were talking through that. When I left Kansas, I had a layover at the airport in Chicago, and this man sat next to me, Middle Eastern looking, not smiling. I thought he looks a little suspicious. Really, Sheryl? Like, all of my personal experience tells me that people are people, and we all have way more in common than we differ. But those toxic images that we constantly consume, not to mention the physical reality of being surrounded by people who appear the same, have an impact, even on me, someone with so much personal exposure to real live humans from every walk of life. It's so easy to forget that stories are newsworthy because they're not normal. Our reality is shaped by our perception of the truth, and our perception is based on our exposure. If our exposure is limited to the things that we read and see on TV, well, that's the problem that we face. And I'm painfully aware of this, not just because of my work with immigrants. I grew up in Waco, Texas, and my family's still in Waco. It was just 30 years ago, in the fall of 1986, when the high schools were finally consolidated under desegregation orders. My class was the first class to go through all 4 years of high school together. Waco is still largely segregated, if not by race, then by class. And Waco, like Kansas, is solid red. I love this picture of my dad. He's very funny, and the hat is a joke, to be clear. But the reality is we have very different worldviews, and sometimes our disagreements feel very personal and painful, and it's hard to work through that. We do it because we care. The challenge for all of us is to recognize when our beliefs and our feelings are grounded in personal experience and when we're letting the rhetoric shape our reality. So there was my opportunity back at the airport in Chicago to be brave and reach through that implicit bias. I started talking to the man next to me, and he's amazing. He has a PhD, his wife has a master's degree, they're from Nepal, and vegetarian. This man would not even hurt an animal. I'm not trying to convince you that all migrants and refugees are awesome and you should welcome them into your communities. That's my opinion. But my challenge to you is to challenge the sources that shape your reality. Don't let the media have so much control over your actions and beliefs. Even if everybody around you has the same opinions, think about it. You're all getting your information from the same sources. And my challenge to migrants and refugees is to make an extra effort to interact with your new communities. Think of yourselves as ambassadors. Share your food and music and stories about home and ask questions. We have so much to learn from one another. And my challenge to everyone, for all of us, is to keep the big picture in mind. Everybody wants to feel safe and secure. Divisions based on politics, race, and religion do not make us feel safer. It's the opposite. Polarization breeds fear, and talking about people instead of talking to people only reinforces stereotypes and fans the flames of fear. Even if we disagree on policy issues like immigration, can we be brave enough to separate the policy from the person that lives next door? People that come to this country want the same things as the people that I met in Kansas and my family and friends back home in Texas. After risking and sacrificing so much to come to this country, the last thing that they want to do is change those very features that make America attractive, like freedom and opportunity. And to that end, immigrants are doing their part. 1/4 of all US businesses are now started by immigrants, and 40% of Fortune 500 companies are founded by immigrants or the children of immigrants. The greatest fear to our country does not come from the outside. It's hard to wrap your head around that when appearances tend to be more emotional than rational. But appearances are only skin deep, and values are deeper. If we really want the United States to stay united, then it's time for every one of us to make America brave again. Thank you. Thank you.